Talk about a short straw, having to follow that. Wow, let's hear it one more time for Ashante. Man. Wow. Most important thing I'm going to say in this sanctuary is I want to give glory and honor to God. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. My deepest thanks to this guy, my friend, Pastor Kenneth Clayton, for opening the doors of St. Luke Baptist Church for all of us this morning. I reminded him that I visited him on Thanksgiving Eve, 2014. It was literally cold, dark, and lonely, and figuratively it was cold, dark, and lonely for me as an electoral matter, and this guy took a meeting with me, didn't have to, and I will never forget that. Thank you. This church has stood at the forefront of change. It has been a bright beacon of hope and faith for 95 years. And I thank you, Pastor, for all you do to keep this legacy alive. God bless you. And I thank you and so many of your brothers and sisters from across our faith communities for your steadfast support of our efforts to end the epidemic of gun violence. And by the way, while we're at it, how about the music ministry here at St. Luke's? Another tough act to follow for us. I also want to thank Patterson's mayor right in front of me, Mr. Met, Mayor Andre Sayegh, for welcoming me and my team so graciously back to the Silk City. Mayor, you have similarly been a steadfast partner in so much, but especially in our ongoing fight against gun violence, and I'm grateful for your leadership. And I am just as grateful for the leadership of the person to your left in the United States Capitol, by Congressman and Patterson's own, the one and only Bill Pascrell, one of the toughest fighters for Patterson and New Jersey that you will ever meet. And in between the mayor and the congressman, we just heard from her, Ashante Johnson. Thank you again as well for your, The words Ashante Johnson are like a human applause sign, rightfully so. Thank you as well for your inspiring, incredible words this morning and for reminding us that while we may take on these fights in the here and now, we take them on to make things better for the next generation of New Jerseyans. We're joined by a cavalcade of stars. I've mentioned some of them already. Senator Nellie Poe is with us. Senator Joe Cryan, bless you both. I know the majority leader, Senator Ruiz, wanted to be here, and she sends her best wishes. Patterson's own Assemblyman, Coach Benji Wimberly. I know this is Assemblywoman Shavonda Sumter's church, so I want to give her a shout-out in absentia. Mila J.C., you're here, I believe. Mila, great to see you. Verlina Reynolds-Jackson, Reginald Atkins, all from the Assembly. Bless you all. They have put their names, I might add, on many, both in the Senate and Assembly, on many of the common sense gun laws that we have enacted over the past 4+ years and are continuing the fight today. And I and we owe them a huge debt of gratitude and our heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you. With us as well, we've got Acting Attorney General Matt Platkin. Thank you for your leadership. Our Chief Counsel, Paramel Garg, to his right. I'm told Lieutenant Colonel Fritz Frage is with us. I haven't seen Fritz. You here? Where are you, man? Good to see you again. Thank you. So much of what we seek to do is, as the Congressman said, is also about empowering law enforcement and getting illegal guns off our streets. As Fritz knows, yesterday, Matt and I were together to announce a second class of state troopers for this year. Our troopers are at the forefront of the efforts and partnerships to get guns off our streets at all levels of law enforcement, I might add, including right here in Patterson and in Passaic County. Now let's make sure that they have the tools they need to keep our communities safe. I'm also incredibly honored to have a bunch of mayors with us. Mayor Dwayne Warren of the City of Orange, Ted Green of East Orange, Donald Shaw of Roselle. I think his council president, Denise Wilkerson, is with us. To each and every you guys, I thank you all and your colleagues for your support and leadership. You all know firsthand gun violence, the impact that gun violence has in your communities, and you've been to far too many funerals of lives cut short. We also have, representing the county, at a minimum, we've got two commissioners here, Terry Duffy and Pat Lepore. Thank you guys for your leadership. As I mentioned, all members of law enforcement, God bless you all, stay safe. And of course, we would be nowhere without the tremendous efforts and support of all the advocates with us here today and those throughout our state. Whether you fight as part of the Every Town and Moms Demand Army, or with Giffords, or the Brady Campaign, or the organizations within your home communities like Newark Street Team, the Patterson Healing Collaborative, the Jersey City Anti-Violence Coalition, the Hudson Partnership, among so many others. I am humbled and grateful for all you do each and every day. I know that whenever I look out into the sea of T-shirts, as I was referencing privately earlier, it's going to be a good day. So to each and every one of the advocates, thank you all for everything you do. Amen. And indeed, we're going to make this a good day for New Jersey. And before I go on, I want to give a shout out. I don't think he's here, but Bill Kastner, we would not be here today without Bill's huge advocacy and help. So let's hear it for Bill. So 1 year ago, this past Friday, many of us stood together, not even 20 miles from here, at a community center in Newark as we announced our third package of comprehensive gun safety legislation. In the year since then, we have seen 1,359 New Jerseyans shot and 250 New Jerseyans killed by guns. These shootings have happened in communities all across our state, in cities like Patterson, in suburbs, in rural communities. 4 weeks ago, Sequoia Bacon Jones, a precious and beautiful 9-year-old girl, was playing with her brother and friends in an apartment courtyard in Trenton. While these kids were playing, adults near them started fighting, and one of them pulled out a gun and opened fire. A bullet hit Sequoia in the upper body, and hours later she died in a hospital. At the press conference where charges were announced in Sequoia's murder, Sequoia's mother said of her daughter, and I quote, "Mom, now all I have are memories. I can't make any more, and she can't do any more. It's not fair." Indeed, it is not fair. No, it's not fair that day after day members of our New Jersey family are being shot and killed. And it's outrageous that their state government in Trenton isn't doing everything it can to stem this tide of gun violence. And by the way, as the congressman knows, there's even more outrage, rightful outrage, directed at obstructionists in Congress, as you rightfully point out. I just looked up. This is this past weekend alone, and these are multiple shootings, and it's not a complete list. Pittsburgh, Stockton, California, Miami, Baltimore, North Las Vegas, Syracuse, Portland, Oregon, Philadelphia, Columbia, South Carolina, Furman, South Carolina. I could go on. Either multiple injuries or deaths or both associated with each of those cities last weekend alone. So this is not a Jersey-only reality, it's a national reality. But back in New Jersey, the bills that we introduced 1 year ago are basic measures that will keep guns out of the wrong hands, will help law enforcement apprehend the perpetrators of gun violence, and hold the gun industry accountable for its deceptive and dangerous practices. These bills, with all due respect, are the definition of common sense. And they are bills that would, and please allow me to go each of them. 1, require anyone applying for a firearm purchaser card to first complete a certified safety course, just as we require, by the way, anyone looking to drive a car to get a license proving they know how to safely use it. Is that not common sense? 2, close the loophole that allows those moving into New Jersey to skirt the procedures that established New Jersey residents must follow in order to qualify to purchase or obtain firearms. 3, require any and all guns not in use to be stored securely in a lockbox or gun safe, right? This is not doctoral calculus. This is basic stuff, right? So by storing them, they don't lead to tragic accidents, particularly involving kids and or tragic suicides. 4, mandate that all handguns sold in New Jersey be equipped with micro-stamping technology that leaves a one-of-a-kind imprint on every round of ammunition fired so law enforcement can trace a specific round to a specific gun. 5, require electronic record keeping of all ammunition sold in New Jersey to help identify dealers and straw purchasers. Today, that record keeping, if it happens at all, are on index cards, literally all over the state. 6, once and for all, ban the sale of .50 caliber firearms. .50 caliber firearms, by the way, can take down helicopters. The Ukrainians need them. We don't need them in New Jersey. Who can seriously argue that these weapons of war belong on our streets? And 7, and finally, enact a public nuisance cause of action law to hold gun manufacturers and distributors alike responsible for the damage caused by firearms. That sounds a little gobbledygook, legalese. That's a big deal. We could tie this back to the gun manufacturers. We bring them down unless they behave according to our laws. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, and what Congressman Pascrell knows all too well, politicians beholden to the gun lobby have prevented Washington from holding the gun industry accountable. Here in New Jersey, folks, we can do better. Every single one of these bills is fully consistent with the Second Amendment, so don't buy that argument. I challenge anyone who hasn't raised their voice in support to put forth a single coherent argument against any of these bills. I was proud to stand with Speaker Craig Coughlin in support of this package in December of last year, and like all the legislators here today, he understands that these steps are necessary and that the time for action is now. And the time for excuses is over. Every one of these bills deserves a vote. We know that young, promising lives that are still being cut short by gun violence that happens, sadly, almost every day. We know there are places where residents shudder whenever they hear a popping sound. We know that we cannot claim victory until we stop the flow of illegal guns into our streets, until we ensure that every gun owner fully understands their responsibility in keeping our communities safe, and until we send an unconditional message to the gun industry that we're not going to tolerate their deadly behavior anymore. Now, to be sure, we have together, and again I want to salute leaders at all levels of government, especially in the legislature, we have successes to cheer. Because in no small part to the laws we have put on our books, New Jersey today has the 3rd lowest rate of death from gun violence among all American states, and we should be proud of that. And yet, 3rd lowest does not mean 0. So we must together fight on. We are just about to enter the season when historically gun violence increases. And because gun violence will not take a break this summer, let's get these bills passed before the legislature breaks for its summer. Let's get these laws passed now so our summer can be safer. Let's get these laws passed now so law enforcement has the tools to go right after the bad actors and hold them accountable. And let's get these laws passed now so we can continue making our streets and communities safer for all who are proud to call New Jersey home. So let's rise together and meet this moment. Let's get these laws passed and signed. Let's keep New Jersey moving forward. It is now my pleasure to turn things over to the mayor of this great city. Please help me welcome the mayor of Paterson, the one and only Andre Sayegh.